There's one or two key points in this seminar that I have stressed thousands of times. It's vitally important that you follow them properly. On page 26 in your action planner, it's suggested that you make a written description of the person you are about to become. I couldn't stress this enough. I've pointed that there's 2 pages in this book that can literally change your life. This is the first one. Now, what I want to suggest you do, it may seem foolish, it may seem like a fantasy, but I can assure you it works. I want you to stop and think of exactly how you would like to be. The type of person you really want to be. Write it in as much detail as possible on page 26, and write it in the present tense. You may draw on different people that you admire and respect as role models that you might want to emulate this part or that part of their personality. But make this in as much detail as possible in the present tense. Begin by writing, "I am so happy that I am," and then describe the person you truly want to become in as much detail as possible. Don't go any further until that part of this exercise book is filled in. Don't spend 5 seconds wondering how you're going to become this person. Just make it very clear the person you want to become. We'll tell you later on how to execute the image. When you have that completed, turn your tape back on, and John Kanary is going to introduce you to a concept of how this great power within us takes over and does what we want.
I always like to kind of get into this lesson with a particular idea because you know, we're into something that make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. And just to make sure that we're all in the same chapter here, we're over on page 27 where it states, "Let go and let God." You know, it's a cute little story about Billy and Johnny. They were having a little bit of trouble in town on an ongoing basis. And Mom didn't know quite how to handle this. Dad had been gone for years, and if something went wrong, these kids would hide in the basement because they would get blamed for it whether they were involved in the activity or not. Well, Mom took a run down to the minister there, brought Billy and Johnny with her. And she walked in, she said, "You know, Reverend, I don't know quite what to do. These 2 boys are constantly in trouble, and every time something goes wrong, they get blamed for it, and I don't know quite how to handle it." Well, he said, "Listen, Mom, you just go on home there. I'm going to take care of this situation right now." And the way she went, he said, "Now, Billy, I want you to sit in the hallway here in that chair. And Johnny, I want you in my office." Well, Johnny got in there and he sat him in that chair, and old Reverend there, he just sat back in that big old oak desk. And he looked down and he said, "Now, Johnny, we're going to start with some questions. And the first one is, where is God?" Well, Johnny just sat up on that chair there, started to vibrate, you know, in a state of confusion. Didn't know quite what to do. Blood vessels started to dilate. And he's trying to get a word out. He said, "Come on, Johnny, right now, where's God?" Well, he started to spit, stammer, and stutter, whatever the case might be. And he said, "Johnny, this is the last time I'm going to ask you, where's God?" Well, Johnny just up off that chair and beat it down the hallway, put on the brakes, grabbed Billy, said, "Billy, we got to get out of here. God's missing, and they're going to blame that one on us too." In this marvelous book that everyone has in their kit, when you pick up and you read this chapter, I want you to keep something in mind. That for 8,000 years, all of the great thinkers, they have all disagreed with one another on many, many different things. But you know, there was only one thing that they were in complete and unanimous agreement with. Just one. That there is a power in this universe. And they say that this power, that it animates, it penetrates, and it motivates the entire cosmos. Now, not too long ago in a TV show, Madam O'Hare was being interviewed by Phil Donahue. And Donahue, she's the lady who's the head of the atheist movement. And she denied the existence of any power in this universe. But one night she was being interviewed by Dick Cavett, and Dick Cavett, you see, he didn't get emotionally involved in the idea. He stopped and he started to think, and he was able to reason with her without him losing control. And she said the only good thing about believing in a power is that you get a lot of holidays. And Dick Cavett said to her, you get a holiday every single year, as all atheists do. And she said, when is that? And he said, on April the 1st. Now, if you were to go to the Ark of Apollo at Delphi, you'll see just two words inscribed over that ark at Delphi. And those two words go like this. It said, know thyself. But what do we really know about us and what this power is that animates, flows through us, flows with us? I mean, that really is what we are all about. This power that Bob referred to so much yesterday as spirit. Now, to properly do this exercise, we're going to have to define or try or attempt to define this power. But you see, if you define something, then you place limits on it. So you see, the way we're going to define it will not limit it. As a matter of fact, it will show that it is unlimited and that it is infinite. In a marvelous book that I brought out here with me this morning called Your Invisible Power, Genevieve Behrend, I think, put it together well in this book when she said, to get good results in our life, we must properly understand our relationship to this great impersonal power. Now think about what she said. If we are going to get, she said, the kind of results that we want, we are going to have to understand our relationship to this here great, all-encompassing, this great impersonal power. Now she said, this power is intelligent. You and I, we are intelligent. But she said, it is these two intelligences working together that determine the kind of results that we get. Well then, where do we go to find out a little bit more about this power? You see, if you examine it, there's 178 different names to describe it. I mean, we got Baha'i, Vishnu, Krishna, Muhammad, Buddha, and the list goes on and on and on. Rather than talk about the name, why don't we try to define the activity to see how it operates to, with, and through us? Now you see, if I were in the United States today, and the people that are here from the U.S., you check this out with them. If I were to ask them if they've paid their hydro bill, what kind of response do you think I'm going to get? Brian?
I think they paid their water.
They would think they paid their water bill or something. But you see, you know what I mean by hydro bill. But they're not sure what I mean by hydro bill. But isn't it really the very same power? Yes, no. It's the very same power. Well, you see, this power that we're talking about, rather than try to define its name, let's see if we can define the activity. Now, if you're going to find out what it is, you're going to have to go to two sources of reference, the only two that are available. And one is science, and the other is theology. They are the only two sources of reference we can go to if we're going to try to find out anything. Now, you'll find this in the chapter on Let Go and Let God in that book, and I'd suggest that you read it and reread it until you not only gain an intellectual comprehension, but until you can gain what is called an inner, spiritual, emotional intelligence. You see, the individual that works only with intellectual intelligence, they're really not going to accomplish a whole lot. But the individual that can work with that inner, emotional, or spiritual intelligence, that individual will open themselves up to unlimited possibilities. So if we're going to define this power, and we were to go to the scientists and say, what is this power that animates, penetrates, and motivates the cosmos? Why can I walk and talk? What keeps that wall standing? What about night and day? Why is there such order in these cosmos? How do I know where there's a certain star going to be 1,000 years from now and time it within a fraction of a second? Well, the scientist will tell you there is a power that animates the cosmos, and the scientist will say he will call, or she will call, that power energy. That's the name they use to describe this activity. Now, if you ask, well, what is energy? This is the only thing the scientist can tell you. And remember, the word science means to know. It means organized knowledge. Well, then ask, what is energy? And this is the only thing science can tell you. That energy just is. It is neither created nor destroyed. It is the cause and effect of itself. And it is 100% evenly present in all places at all times. Doesn't that mean right in here, Shirley? Doesn't that mean right in here, Leslie? All places at all times. It didn't say 20% in Scarborough, 50% in Tennessee. 100% evenly present in all places at all times, is almighty and is all powerful. That's fine. You may say, well, I choose not to believe that. Well, you're entitled to believe what you want. But remember this, if you don't believe in something, you're going to fall for anything. So we can cross that one out if you like, but some of you will not. Well, that only leaves you one place left to go. And if you were to go over to theology, and what does theology mean? Well, theology just means one thing, the study of God, at least in this part of the world. In another part, it may be Baha'i, Vishnu, Krishna, Muhammad, Buddha again. It goes on and on and on the list. But if you were to ask the theologian, I just left the scientist, I'm trying to find out, what is this power that animates, penetrates, and motivates the cosmos? Say, I just left down there, and I'm trying to find out a little bit about this power. I mean, you've been told that if you do this, thus, and so, you're going to win, that you have great potential. Have you ever been told that, John? Have you ever been told, honey, if you change your attitude, we get along better? And if you change your attitude, you could use your potential and you could be more effective? Have you ever been told that, Jim? On a daily basis? Sure you have. But you see, the scientist, I went to this scientist and they told me something about this energy. Now you go over to the other side and you ask the theologian. And the theologian will say, yes, there is a power in this universe that keeps everything in working order. But we have a name for the power in this part of the world. What do they call? What is the name they use in this part of the world? So you see, we take that symbol and we put it on the board, and then we ask the theologian, well, tell me, what is, who is, what do you mean by God? Can you give me a definition? And this is the only thing the theologian can tell you. Because remember, you cannot limit it. And the theologian will say, there is a power in these cosmos that we call God, and God just is. Neither created nor destroyed. He is the cause and effect of himself. And he is 100% evenly present in all places at all times. Now it seems to me that I heard that just a few minutes ago. So the only thing that has changed is the name. The activity is the same. And it is clearly demonstrated in the book. You'll find in this book something Werner von Braun stated. Bob quoted Werner von Braun. Von Braun pointed out that science are studying, you could say, the energy and the force around humanity. Theology are studying the force within humanity. And they're eventually going to find out that they are studying one and the same force. You see, when we understand what B. Rand said, it is intelligent, we are intelligent, but it is the working relationship with this power that brings about the kind of results we get, because it can't do for you what it can only do through you. Gosh, I'd give just about anything for a person to get a hold of that or to understand that. That it cannot do for you what it can only do through you. Think about that. Now, would you go over to page 27? We got to move on here. And at the very top of the page, for centuries, there has been a select group of people who are the real thinkers. I mean, we could name many. Edison, Emerson, Thoreau. I mean, there are so many, we could be here all day talking about them. But every one of them, although they had different ideas and different philosophies, this is the one thing they were in complete and unanimous agreement with. These individuals have always known there is a power which permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the cosmos, and that everything you see around you is an expression of that power, and so is everything which you feel. The power operates in a very precise manner, which is generally called law. We choose to call it God. Others may speak of it as love, divine mind, divine intelligence, Jehovah, Lord, Father, first cause, as well as a whole host of other synonymous names. But it doesn't really matter what you call it, because the important thing to bear in mind, and anyone of understanding will really admit the fact, is that it is the power that doeth the work. It's not you and I, it's something we work with, but it also works with us. In other words, everything comes from one source, and that source power always flows and works to and through you. And that is you. Stated differently, the image that you have formed can only come to you on the physical plane of your life. In other words, your results. In one way, and that is by law and through faith. Now, the second part of this particular chapter, Bob is going to work with to show just how faith moves this power into action. Keep these two things in mind as we go through it. There are only two words you need to remember as Bob walks you through this. One is order, and the other is movement. Order and movement. And when both of those are functioning together rather than working against one another, we have success, happiness, health, and wealth, which is your birthright.